everybody, welcome back to Teardrop Adventures. Today I thought I'd give you guys a quick rundown of these different types of batteries and how they can best be used for different situations. So let's get right into it. So for these two smaller types of batteries, I find the pros are like the Jackery, like it's quite light, it's lithium ion, which is a lighter type of battery, but it doesn't have as many recharges. It recharges about 500 times before it loses about 20% of its capacity. So it still is very usable at that point. It goes down to about 80% of its original capacity. But still, 300 times from 100% down to 0% and then recharging again, it's going to take a really long time. I've probably only done it a few times, like 5 times maybe in a year and a half. And then this Blue Eddy, it's a bit larger. So to compare, this one's 500 watts and 500 watt hours. Jackery always makes the size of the inverter, which is, inverter just means how much power it can convert from, because these are all DC by nature, so it has to have a converter to convert from DC to AC power. So that's what the inverter does. So you can see the maximum power on the inverter. Each inverter has a max power you can draw from it safely. So this one is 500 watts and the battery itself is 500 watt hours. Likewise for the EV70, they always make the 70 the same as the size. So this is a 700 watt hour battery and it's 700 watts on the inverter. So these two are quite light and highly portable. So it's good to use these for things like tent camping, hauling them around. They're easy to take outside for solar charging. I think they're really good to run a fridge or like a camping style fridge. Those are quite low power. So you can have like one battery inside and then take the other outside and charge it on solar while it's still running the fridge. And they're also really good for overlanding. So the way you'd use them for overlanding, you'd probably only need one if you're driving all the time and you're not stationary, because it'll just be plugged into your car, charging from this input into your jack for your lighter jack. And that'll just keep this running whenever the car's moving. It'll be charging this. Whenever it's stopped, it'll stop charging it, but all that time, whether you're driving or stationary, it'll always run your fridge. Right, so that's pretty ideal, and to have two is even better because you can always have backup as well as take one outside and have it charging on solar while you're still running inside. You don't have to worry about running any cables from your roof or like that kind of thing, like having one stationary inside and trying to charge it. It's always hard to get to a good spot for solar charging. So running it like on the dash or running a cable out the window and trying to hook it up to a solar panel and get it to charge while it's inside. And then if you don't do that, you got to start moving the actual battery around, then you're not charging your fridge anymore. You're not running your fridge. So it's always nice to have two and cheaper ones, right? So you don't have to get like invest a ton of money to get one big one. It's nicer to have kind of two medium ones around 500 to 700. Yeah, so that's good for overlanding and also for the same thing for tent camping, right? You can have the fridge just in the same way, and for your base camp you can take one outside and charge it, and then you can also haul one inside to run a heater or something for nighttime while the other one's running the fridge, and then in the daytime you're just charging one, right? So really good for tent camping. So if you have something bigger, like kind of, let's say, a Teardrop or any small trailer, and you want to run that, so they have the metal boxes. So most people have like lead acid batteries or like deep cycle kind of lead acid batteries, AGMs, but a lot of people are changing to something like this, right? So this is a Renogy 100 amp hour lithium iron phosphate, and this has the same kind of anode and cathode, positive negative, as a normal lead acid battery, but it's not. It's lithium, so you can bring it inside. There's no off-gassing. There's no maintenance on them. You can actually turn them off in the winter, which is nice. There's this little cable goes in here. You push a button and it goes into a sleep mode for winter. You don't have to do anything to them. They're really good. They're not too heavy. They're a lot lighter than the lead acids. So they are good to run a Teardrop, much better than the old style batteries. But you do, if you want to start charge this off solar, you need a solar controller, so another little box that feeds into your solar panel, and then the solar panel feeds into the solar controller. That comes into your positive and negative, right? And then off to the trailer to charge to run that. And you can do it at the same time, but it's one more component, and then you need another component to charge the battery. So by that I mean charging off AC. So that only happens if you power at your campsite and you want to plug in, and you probably want to have a battery charger. So you want to convert the AC from the campground over into DC to charge the battery. So yeah, so that's one more component. So it is a little bit more kludgy to have this old style battery. I mean, well, it's the new style battery, but with the positive negative, like the traditional battery style compared to like these new solar generators, right? So another alternative to this type of battery in your trailer is get rid of all these and just put a big ass battery in like this Vitoman. So this Vitoman, let me charge these off. This Vitoman is 1548, I believe, watt hours, and the inverter is 1800 watts, so it'll run a ton of stuff, and it's quite large capacity. You don't need a solar controller because it's the same as these ones. It's got its own, everything's built into one. It's got its own built-in solar controller. It's got its own built-in inverter spinning out here, and it's got all its DC in this area. So basically, you throw this in the box, get rid of your old batteries, and you just need like a converter to like this one down here. So this would go from here and it would charge, then you just plug this, convert it into the positive and negative that would normally feed off these batteries. You just feed it off DC, connect it to your wires in your trailer, and then tape them off, and then boom, you have your DC feeding off this system, right? You might want to make your own wire or find a nicer adapter on Amazon. And then if your trailer also has AC, you just plug the AC into here, and then you're going, right? You don't need any kind of inverters, you don't need anything, it's all built in one unit. And you can still charge this off solar. If you have power at the campsite, you can feed that right into, I would probably put it into a power bar, and then run the AC that comes with the system. So this comes with this AC block, plug that right into a power bar and then into the input, and that would charge off the campsite's power. So you'd have like an extra intermediary step. The reason I would use a power bar is because it has extra surge protection, just to protect the big battery. So if there's any surge at the campsite, you don't have to worry about it damaging your own battery system. You can just use a power bar and let that take the hit. Those are usually way cheaper. So next advantage for the bigger batteries like this one is they're great for if the power goes out. You can use them to run your home fridge. So like the full size fridge, right? You can run it for several days off something like this. Whereas these ones will only run it for like maybe half a day. They'll still do it. Fridge is about usually 120 watts or so, but at 700 watts, it's going to last like 6 hours maybe. So these are good for short term if the power goes out. The fridge itself, if you just keep it closed and never open it, it'll stay cold that long anyway. So I mean, I would use these in a power outage more for laptops and route my router and things like that. Keep internet and keep working if I need to. Whereas this one I would put upstairs in the kitchen. I would put it in the boot room probably and run it into my fridge. And then I would have my my gas generator outside. And if every once in a while when this has done some work for about 6-7 hours and it's gone down a bit, I can run the gas generator for an hour or two and feed this back and charge it back up, right? Another thing I can do is I can take these little batteries outside and I can charge these off solar and then feed feed these batteries into the big one to charge it back up as well. So I have another source of power, right? Just take the power cable from the DC out so I don't lose anything on the inverter. You always use the DC if you can, because the inverter, you lose some power because it has to convert. You get some heat on some fans probably, and you lose about maybe 10-15% of your power just to the conversion. So always use the DC and then feed that right into this plug on the Vitoman, and then that'll be charging the Vitoman off of the Blue Eddy. And I could do the opposite, in the opposite direction if I want. I can charge the Blue Eddy off the Vitoman, and that way I can feed power back and forth between the two different systems. So the better way is to take these little ones outside and charge them off solar, and then bring them back in to charge the Vitoman while it's running the fridge, right? So that's another option instead of just using gas generator. So I hope this quick summary of the best ways to use and leverage these power stations has been helpful. And thanks for watching. Have a great day.